Your mother so smacks that smell.
Tom,
Lord.
let's just we don't have to go over and over and over this
No.
movie to death. As you said, people that cared went out and watched it opening weekend. It wasn't many people that cared because it hasn't
It's
absolutely
not really
smashed
a
the box office.
franchise. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But let's just give our thoughts for our adoring viewers here, so they can make their own mind up if they wish to go watch it. What did you think of the movie? Because I'm going to go hard on this, and you won't. Not as hard
Well,
anyway. So
I
have a
want to,
balance.
man. I have issues with it. I have some major issues with it. But
Well,
that's the
he's not fucking
problem.
Andre. Andre let me down yesterday, man. I
I
could
know.
not believe that.
I can't understand what movie Andre saw. Like
Andre liked the film, by the way,
he's
guys.
giving the motherfucker a love letter. Pardon my French, but like I'm like, dude, you're being way too nice to this movie. Okay, because here's my basic description of it, and this is my short review, and I'll get it out of the way. The first movie is among my top favorite films of all time, so keep that in mind. That being said, I wanted to hate this movie with a passion going into it, and I walked out liking it more than I thought I would. Now, that being said, they are very audacious. They do try some things. I know some people feel like it's not very original. In fact, Chris Gore would say it's the most unoriginal film in the series or whatever, blah, blah, blah. That being said, I also pointed out that, look, I don't watch a lot of these Exorcist haunting ripoff movies. So in that respect, and I agree with, like, I think Red Letter Media said the same thing. This is probably better than most of the Exorcist ripoffs. So like compared to those kind of movies, it's good. But it's almost unfair to try and compare it to the original film. So what I'm doing, in my own opinion, and let's just so keep that in mind, is I'm comparing it more to the sequels. Okay. So as far as the sequels go, this is not that bad. But that being said, and you can rip into it deeper than I will, it does have some problems. Most of all being modern day bullshit creeping in and causing, what could have been probably a decent, like, reintroduction to the Exorcist franchise into a boring, muddy mess. Now I didn't find it as boring as you did, but I'm not going to say it wasn't, because you're right. There is no real scares in the movie. Let's be real here. You're making a sequel to what is most considered the scariest film of all time, and there isn't really any fear in it outside of, I will give him credit, and this is the thing I point out to most people about the first film too, is that the first film isn't so much scary because the girl's head's spinning around and she's spitting pea soup. It's scary because Chris McNeil has no idea what's wrong with her child, and nobody can tell her. And as a parent, that is the scariest fucking thing you can hear, because it's worse than having, knowing that maybe your child's going to die. At least then and you can prepare for it. In the case where she's at, not only does she not know what's going on with her child, all these doctors, 80 of them or whatever it is, she even says, she's like 80 fucking doctors, and not one of you can tell me what's wrong with my daughter. And that's the scariest thing any person can have, especially when they're turning around and telling you, well, maybe you want to try voodoo or an exorcism. Like, what are you going to do? Like, okay. Like, you're supposed to be the authorities here. So like that part of the film, I thought they captured very well, not so much with the same beats as the first film, but with the girls disappearing for 3 days. As a parent, that is a scary fucking thought, right? Like, your kid just disappears. Nobody knows nothing. Can't find a trace of them, or you find just little traces of, but not enough to determine if it's, something to be extremely worried about, or if they're just fucking around or whatever. So that aspect of the film, I thought they handled very well. Having 2 kids possessed instead of 1, I thought was, a clever twist. And I thought the ending, the whole thing with, making the choice and all that kind of stuff, I thought was kind of clever. But other than that, the inserting of the would-be nun, Ellen Bernstein kind of feeling out of place through most of the movie. Other than that, I can't really give the movie much praise. I didn't like how they made the white family more rednecky and kind of the bad guys at the end of the movie in the way. I did like the male lead. I thought he was a good father figure in the film. And if anything, he's probably the best part of the movie. I thought the girls did fine in the acting. I know some people don't think that the one girl did very good, or neither of them did. I think they did fine, considering what they had to do. There's some scenes that are kind of dumb that I would have just left out, like the masturbation scene I would have left out, because it's just pointless, and I don't even think the actors knew what they were doing, and you can tell by the way it's shot. But yeah, other than that, just the patriarchy line and the whole idea of having to have multiple religions involved really kind of turned me off from the whole thing. From what could have been, at least in my opinion, a decent sequel.
But you didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it altogether, but I didn't love it at all either. It's mediocre at best. That's the thing. It's so middling.
How would you rate it out of 10?
5, 5.5, 6 tops. Like, I can't recommend somebody go see it in the theater, but I could recommend that you won't be disappointed if you watch it at home, just chilling with your friends. Right? It's not a beer and pizza movie, definitely, but it's like a movie you watch with like your girlfriend or your wife, or the girls get together. Maybe I see women enjoying this movie more than men at the end of the day. I think there's more here for women to get into than guys. So I don't know.
Well, I fucking hated it, ladies and gentlemen. I know you did. It was a god-awful film. I would not recommend anyone watch it. I would not recommend anyone watch it at home. I would not recommend you pay for it. I would not recommend you watch it even if you don't pay for it. It is a terrible movie on so many levels. It is awful. It is awful. I thought the child actors suck. You are right that the father is a great actor, and how they portrayed him being a father and being protective, and the sort of logical in-universe steps that you would take throughout your life if tragedy had befallen you to be overprotective of your daughter would absolutely be the case. And I liked all of that. But the film was so fucking boring, I couldn't give a shit. Same as the fact that, you're saying, the scariest thing that would happen to you, if you were a parent, you would, your child goes missing. I agree. And I think that they did that really well, actually. I think that the sort of aggression and sort of anger and...
Yeah, the two parents blaming each other and all that kind of stuff.
Two parents. Yeah. I thought that was really well done, but I still couldn't give a shit because this movie is so fucking terrible.
Yeah, that's fair. I can understand.
Like, genuinely, it was so boring and so crap that, I can acknowledge that they did it well, but I just simply don't care. And I couldn't care because it's terrible. On so many levels, ladies and gents, on so many levels. The children's performances were utterly atrocious. The Avengers exorcism team up at the end, I didn't misspeak. That's true. That's part of it. Was utterly atrocious. That was awful. The piss-colored gas that came out as well. That was awful. Just terrible on many levels. Awful film. No idea who wrote it. No idea who wrote that stupid line about the patriarchy. I did a video on it. So if you haven't seen it, Olaf will undoubtedly link it in the chat right now. But I did a video where I showed, it's a scene from the movie where Chris McNeil is with the father of one of the girls that's got a demon in her. And she goes, well, I wasn't actually in the room with the exorcism. I didn't see it. And he goes, why not? Well, you want to know my opinion, she says? It's because I wasn't a member of the damn patriarchy. No, love, you stupid bitch. It's because your daughter had an actual demon in her. And those two people that exorcised that demon died. Maybe that was why. But no, patriarchy. And then later in the film, she's proven completely... It's almost like a comedy sketch. Because she says about the patriarchy, and there'll be a supercut when this film drops, where someone will go, line about the patriarchy. Then later in the film, she confronts one of these new girls with a demon in her, and she gets her eyes stabbed out. Well, there you go. I mean, that's why
I kind of laughed at that part. I'm like, you almost deserve that.
She did deserve it.
Her hubris. And it's not her fault as an actress. It's the fault of the writing, right? Like I'm
saying in universe, she deserves to be stabbed in the eye.
And what other bothered me too was the line that he keys in on in the novel that she wrote, or the account that she wrote, she wasn't even there for. That's what really bothered me. It stuck out to me. It was like, because he points it in because she reads and then "help me" formed on her stomach or whatever, and then he freaks out and he looks at the picture and "help me" is written on his daughter's side, right? And that's the connection he figures out. And I'm like, bitch, wasn't even in the room, because in that movie, that is the scene where Sharon, the nanny, calls up Father Karras and says, I want you to see this, but I don't want Chris to know. And she goes into the bedroom with him, opens up the bottom of her nightgown top, or whatever you call it, the pajama top, and on her stomach writes help, the words "help me" form. So as far as we know, Chris was never even told about that, unless Sharon told her at some point. And that's another thing is like, even though Sharon technically died in the second Exorcist movie, if they're undoing all this stuff, why wasn't Sharon that character that's like, I've seen this before, and not that stupid would-be nun nurse? I hate that fucking character. That chick is the worst fucking actress in the movie. And I'm going like, this bitch better be somebody, because I IMDb'd her after the movie. I'm like,
literally
nothing. No one. I'm like, why is she here? Like, why did they choose this actress?
Probably the catering crew. They're just like, ah, shit, we need to get someone on quickly.
Well, it's because they needed and that's the thing is, if you're going to do this the way they did it, you get a decent actress that's somebody from the past that you know and you connect with.
They can't afford it, mate.
I know, obviously.
400 million in the hole.
Well, she is one of the worst characters, because she's the part that, for me, and this is where I'll agree with you wholeheartedly, Mr. H, and this is where I'll warn some people about the movie. If you're somebody who's sensitive to subjects that have to do with ending pregnancies, don't watch this movie.
Yeah.
This movie is predicated on that, and it almost tries to make the argument that God made that happen, or had her do one, so that she could be there that night.
And
it is the most convoluted bullshit.
Yeah.
To me, the biggest sin is what they do to the Catholic Church and how they try to portray everything involved with it. It just,
yeah. So you're actually right, and abortion in the States is obviously a big hot topic at the moment. So I actually hadn't picked up on that quite as much as what I think you probably would have done. You're a bit primed for it,
and it ties in with the beginning too.
Yeah. So basically, what you're referring to, Tom, we can talk spoilers about this. No one cares about this film. We're not going to lose anyone watching this. No one cares about.
I haven't seen anybody bitch yet, so you're probably right.
No one cares. There's this nurse that is in the hospital looking after one of the daughters that has the demon, is possessed, and she basically says how she was primed to be a nun or something like that.
The night before she went to be confirmed or whatever, I don't remember the exact term, but she was about to go take her vows or whatever, or she did take her one vows, but she was about to become a full-fledged. She was a sister, but she was become a full-fledged nun. I can't remember exactly how it works. But she freaked out, went and fucked some dude, got pregnant, ended the pregnancy, and then became a nurse. And she makes the argument that all happened. God made that happen so she could be here tonight for these girls, so she could represent Jesus, because the Catholic Church wouldn't allow the Catholic priest to perform the exorcism.
Yeah, so by proxy, what she's saying is that it was God's plan and his will for her to not be a nun, but also have, abort her fetus and then become a nurse to then do this. It's just nonsense. The whole film is garbage, and perhaps most egregious out of everything, because you can disagree about this, that, or you could say, well, that doesn't quite sound so bad. Out of everything, and it is the most egregious thing, is it's quite simply not scary. There is no one single scary scene in it whatsoever. And this being a sequel to what is highly regarded as one of the most scariest films of all time, that's just awful. You can't. There's nothing. There's nothing at all. So there you go. Terrible film. There's our review, ladies and gents.
And I wish it was a spicier conversation, but I can't really argue with any of your points, right? Like, it's more of a personal choice. No, I know, but I mean, it's like, I don't feel passionate about enough to go, no, you're wrong. It's a decent film, or at least it's no. Like, no, I'm not even gonna. No, it's not worth it, because it's not. Yeah. I mean, I'm just saying that I didn't feel like I wasted 2 hours of my life like I did. That's the other least good thing about it. It's only like an hour and 40 minutes. So like, it's not as long as most movies. I know you didn't like it. So I mean, to me, it's like I didn't waste most of my life.
Tom says it's only an hour and 40 minutes. It felt like a 3-hour movie, guys.
I didn't feel that way, but that's fair. I can't argue with that. I mean, you're right. Nothing really happens of real consequence till the end of the film, really.
Yeah, it's so bad. I can't recommend it, ladies and gents. So there you go. There is our review